Section 1. The View from 10,000 Feet. Foundational Concepts for Miracles.
Chapter 1. Getting Started.
How to approach miracles with us.
As we approach miracles, we want you to keep your doubts. Take all of this with a grain of salt. Just because we're sharing our point of view doesn't invalidate yours. We don't wish to be right about ours. Only you can make a point of view true. We have ideas generated from experience. That doesn't mean we have the skills or answers right for you. Perhaps your best answer is that there is none. It doesn't mean we can't have a look together with open eyes and minds and be willing to make space for new knowledge.
Before we head onward. There are two voices in this book. As you read, you may notice predominant use of plural pronouns like we, us, and our. That's us, singing in harmony. That's because we, Keith and Lynn, have discussed most of the concepts presented herein and agreed upon them. In most cases, then, we'll write in chorus. You'll be reading what we both have to say about the matters at hand. In a few cases, one of us may have something to add and only one of us will speak out individually. That is because in those cases we each brought differing points of view to a topic and did not come to consensus. Or you may hear from one or the other of our team in our respective roles as father, mother, husband, wife, woman, man, or even yin and yang. About that last bit, for example, Lynn wants to say something about Chinese philosophy.
Hey, Lynn here. In Chinese philosophy, yin and yang describe how seemingly opposite forces can complement and interconnect in the natural world. Yin and yang forces show up in most relationships, no matter the form or genders involved, because we are all human. Both partners bring their own yin to the other's yang. Or perhaps it's the other way around. It's true in our relationship. There are times when I'm the strong one, other times when he is. We bounce back and forth. It has become almost second nature to us after 35 years of marriage. My husband is strong in some ways that I am not. I can't hold my tongue for 2 seconds, and he can really look at an issue or at life in different ways and not have to talk about it all the time. I find that I am the nurturer most often. I focus on the details of many things. I am the creator of a vision for our lives, the planner of gardens, and often the keeper of the peace. My husband likes to be the solid one. Over the years, he gained his self-esteem through work, making a living and providing for the family, making money and having sex. It's not that I don't love my job or having sex, but I get more of my self-esteem by creating things, be it the design of our home, art, music, or children. I have visualized our relationship as a building. He is the walls, the roof, the heavy doors. I turn this building into a home. I am the curtains and the little lights on the back porch. This is how I look at us anyway, a yin and yang relationship.
Back to the chorus. Sharing visualizations and perspectives, points of views and disagreements, living and loving can be miraculous, depending on how one interprets things. Some time back, we heard a parable about living and loving that makes this point. A master speaks. It seems that once, during a family counseling workshop attended by children and their parents, an 11-year-old made a charming and profound observation about the nature of life. The topic in the room was how to discuss birth, death, and the meaning of life with young adults. After listening to the grown-ups banter ideas back and forth, the preteen spoke up and said, "Okay, I get it. Being born is like, well, it's kind of like falling out of a flying plane. You're sitting there all comfortable, surrounded by warmth, with food being brought to you, everything you need, when suddenly you're thrust out into a noisy, bright environment you never asked for or expected." After a pause, he continued, "Then after a while, you realize you're headed for the ground. You're going to hit eventually. Other people around you in the sky, who also just got born, are realizing this too, and some of them are screaming at the top of their lungs with terror, and some are just looking around at the view. A few are smiling and enjoying the trip of their lives." As the story goes, the counseling room was dead quiet while everybody pondered the wisdom of this 11-year-old master. He must have completely flummoxed his suddenly spellbound audience when he concluded, The whole thing is, I guess, how you choose to respond to life on the way down.
It'll be the same here. On the way down or up, look for miracles with us. It's true that you can't see miracles unless you look for them. And we're not asking you to assume that miracles happen. At this point, we only ask you to accept the possibility of miraculous outcomes in marriage as unpredicted by any of the parts or subsets of the parts of your own past. Next, after doubting us, doubt yourself. As we requested in the preface, be willing to doubt a bit of what you know about relationships. We each found it important to let go of some of our own relationship baggage as we've traveled and grown.
Almost ready to get going. Finally, acknowledge the power of cultural context. Our culture is full of examples and sources of ideas about relationships, how and why they work when they do or don't. If we're going to choose for ourselves what's true when it comes to long-term committed relationships, we'll need to divest ourselves of some of the programming. We'll need to doubt a little bit of what we've been taught to believe. Here are some of the forces shaping the context of our lives about marriage.
On screen, media is powerful. Many of our own expectations about what it meant to be married in the second half of the 20th century were formed by watching long-term relationships acted out on television, during soap operas, and in family serials. From the days of series such as Father Knows Best, to Sex and the City, to Modern Family, the powerful medium of television has penetrated the lives of baby boomers, Gen X and Gen Y, for good and ill. A study of the roles of men and women depicted in feature-length movies could be another book unto itself. The impact of Looking for Mr. Goodbar on women of the time, or American Gigolo, on both sexes should be someone's doctoral dissertation. Such depictions continue even today.
Print media. The sexual revolution in the U.S. did much to modify thoughts about the traditional place of men and women in the 20th century. From the time Playboy magazine appeared in December 1953, American men have been told that they should have a few women laying about the house, scantily clad, with their legs wide open. Cosmopolitan magazine has been around since 1886, believe it or not. However, in 1965, it reshaped its message for women, letting them know they needed a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Print magazines held sway, until more recently, as in the 1990s, the Internet provided easy access to graphic sexual images and ideas, affecting relationships between all gender mixes and modes for the millennials and now Gen Z. In fact, change has come so quickly via the Internet that it wasn't until the 1990s that the combination of letters LGBT meant anything to most Americans. We went from a country where homosexuality was illegal to one where gay marriage was legal in all 50 states, faster than any other trend line in modern history. The backlash against this pace of change was predicted in a 1960s bestseller titled Future Shock. The author foretold the rise of non-traditional bonding, like gay marriage, 50 years before it became legal. He also warned this accelerated amount of change would put many men and women in the country on tilt, well out of their comfort zones. This has affected houses of worship, politics, and the economy.
Romance novels. Critics say there are only one or two available plots in romance novels, that only the names and places change to sell a new book. Certainly, fans of romance novels would take issue with this statement that the romance novel view of relationships is pedantic, sometimes insulting, and harmful. It is remarkable that even though the Internet has made such writing seem quaint to some, the female readership for this guilty pleasure has remained.
Fairy tales. Tristan and Isolde, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, The Princess and the Pea, The Beauty and the Beast, are all examples of fables that we have heard since we were young. We've had imprinted on us classic mythology about the nature of relationships. Phrases like happily ever after are part of the worldwide lexicon. Add other phrases like star-crossed lovers and soulmates, and we begin to realize the extent to which these mythologies have been branded in our minds and hearts. At the center of all these stories is the notion that a perfect mate, Prince or Princess Charming, is waiting for us somewhere in our lives. We only have to keep looking, kissing a lot of frogs, to discover him or her. Want to know how influential these bedtime stories still are? When the live-action movie version of The Beauty and the Beast debuted in 2017, it grossed over $1.2 billion worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing live-action musical film, making it the second highest-grossing film of 2017 and the 10th highest-grossing film of all time.
The Joneses. The drive to compare our relationship to someone else's is also captivating. It seems that, for some of us, we're not happy unless we can prove to ourselves that we are somehow happier and more fulfilled than any other couple we know. It is a perverse sort of competition which we can never win. The grass will always seem greener somewhere else. Someone else's relationship will seem to be working out better than ours at any one time. Not only do their lives seem more fulfilling, but we imagine that their sex life must be better than our own. The sneaking suspicion exists back in the deep parts of our mind that maybe our current relationship ain't it. Left unexamined, this competition overshadows and devalues almost any experience we will have in the relationship that we are in or are contemplating being in.
What we grew up around. Much of what we think we know about relationships is patterned into us from an early age. Our need to follow the examples we grew up around runs deep in our minds so that we confuse successful relationships with our very survival. We feel a deep need to get it right. This also means that unsuccessful relationships terrify us to our core. Our head and heart get full of shoulds. We spend much of our time in our current relationship contrasting the experience we're having with someone else's we remember. Nobody we will ever be with can long withstand such scrutiny, suspicion, and comparison.
All these forces have shaped our thinking about marriage here in the West. To doubt ourselves and be conscious about these cultural influences means to be open to the notion that whatever experience we're having in our relationship right now may have less to do with the other person than we think. Much more likely, our experience and judgment have everything to do with our own programming. Ask yourself, what if it were true that there is no experience we've ever had or ever will have with another person that didn't get filtered through ideas formed long before we ever met? Staying conscious about effects of all of this requires attention. Otherwise, we revert to pattern behavior and responses, doomed to act out our pre-programmed dramas again and again.
Ready for the miraculous? With all of this in mind, we're about ready to set off into the rest of the book. How about you? All set?
Thanks again for joining us. Off we go.